Hello and welcome to Hindustan Times. I'm Natanz. The Middle East hasn't been closer to a regional war than today. Israel launched waves of airstrikes against Iran, claiming them as preemptive. Tehran has retaliated with 100 UAVs sprawling across Israel, and the war of words and the war drums are getting louder, with the US saying that it is not involved in the fire. To make sense of what's happening in Israel, in Iran, as well as the Middle East and the world, I'm being joined by Dr. Eyal Pinko, cyber intelligence and military strategy expert. Dr. Pinko, thank you so much for joining us on Hindustan Times.
Thank you very much.
Let me first get your first reactions to what we have seen since early morning, sir.
Yeah. So what we see from 2:30 in the morning Israel time, we see waves of attacks that are coming towards Iran, the Iranian regime, strategic facilities, including aerial defense systems, nuclear facilities, the place in Tehran or the neighborhoods in Tehran in which all the senior officers are living, and also against aerial bases in the eastern part of Iran. This is what we see from 2:30. It's almost 12 hours.
Right. And so far, what have you heard from your government?
I'm not connected to the government, but if I'm analyzing what is happening in the Israeli media and the international media of what is coming, and of course also from pictures and videos that are coming from Iran, it seems that for now the attack is very significant, with a lot of operational achievements, managing to take out all the senior officers of the Iranian terror organization, the Revolution Guard, some of the senior officers of the Iranian military. And while that, Iranian forces launched a massive attack against Israel, hundreds of drones. All of them were intercepted, nothing hit Israel. So for now, Israel is safe and calm with that.
Right. There was a growing belief that if the day comes where Israel attacks Iran, it will do it through United States. But that's not the case. It ditched United States and did the attack alone. Why do you think that's the case?
I don't think it's the case. I believe that Israel from the beginning didn't count on the US to come to its help. I believe that Israel knew all the way that it will be this kind of attack will be done by itself. Even though, Israel believes that if there will be a further escalation, the US will be over there to help, especially or focusing, better to say, on the aerial defense and not letting any kind of cruise missiles, ballistic missile, or drone to enter the Israeli territory.
It's interesting how you didn't think that. Then let me ask you this. Do you think the US does not support Israel striking Iran?
What I said is that the US didn't support militarily or physically with the attack. I do believe and understand that everything was very well coordinated with the US. Everything from the presidential point of view, from the military intelligence, everything was very well coordinated. The schedule, as Trump said, the schedule of the attack was delivered to the US, so they knew exactly when the attack will come. And I think it's while you see the engagement, the American engagement with Iran, trying to go to any kind of settlement for leaving the nuclear program outside and go to a peace treaty and go to to open the Iranian borders for economy and financial gains. The Iranian regime didn't want it, and I do believe that this is part of the American negotiation that didn't succeed. Now came the Israeli attack.
Dr. Pinko, what do you think Israel is trying to achieve through these attacks?
Iran from 1979 declared war on Israel. From 1979, the Iranian regime said that they want to eliminate Israel. And in the last, this year, Iran is doing everything in order to eliminate, to delete Israel from the map. It starts from operating its proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the militia in Iraq, the Yemen Houthis. So until now, Iran operated all its proxies in order to attack Israel. Israel, in the 1.5 years, in the last years, are trying to fight back and to retaliate the massacre that Hamas did, the Hezbollah attacks, the Yemen attacks that are still going on, and the one that behind it is Iran. And if you remember, Iran launched twice attacks against Israel. So Israel is defending itself from the Iranian attacks from one side, and from the other side, Israel sees the Iranian nuclear program as something that is a real and a threat to the national security. And take that into consideration that Iran wants to delete Israel from the map. And with the nuclear program, this is something that Israel cannot suffer. And this is the reason for the attack.
Right. Now, right after the attack, there was a pre-recorded statement that came in from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, where he categorically said that Operation Rising Lion will continue as long as it takes. Now, this kind of statement from the Prime Minister we have heard before, unfortunately, when it came to Gaza and its war against Hamas. And it's been about 1.5 years, and I believe the motive or the goal of the war has not been achieved yet. Do you think this is going the same course?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Israel went to a war with Hamas 1.5 years ago after Hamas murdered more than 1,500 Israelis with the murderous attack that Hamas was initiating and kidnapping more than 250 people, children, women, elderly people. So Israel, unfortunately, went to war with Hamas without wanting that, but after taking this amount of casualties. During the last 1.5 years, Israel was stopped many times by the Biden administration. The US government stopped Israel for moving forward, and the pause in the war in between, because of the American pressure, didn't let Israel to win. And this is the reason it takes so many months and time for that. I think that the situation with Iran will be different. I do believe we are facing an operation that will last, I believe, or will take few weeks. It will not end today or tomorrow. Iran will retaliate. Iran, when it will reset itself, probably will retaliate in a worse case scenario. So I don't believe it will take 1 year, but everyone in the world wants this flame to go down and not to escalate furthermore. So I do believe that we will see huge pressure from Saudi Arabia. Sorry?
You're saying that it'll take just a few weeks. In the few weeks, what will change?
I believe that with the diplomatic pressure by Saudi Arabia, US, France, and other countries, especially from the West, I believe that this pressure or this escalation will go down fast, relatively fast. And this is because the West, mainly the West, and also the Sunni countries that are fighting against Iran, like Saudi Arabia, like Egypt, Bahrain, the UAE, they don't want any escalation. And the Sunni world that is basically against the Iran will try also to take those flames down as fast as
Dr. Pinko, I have to mention here, you're talking about diplomatic pressure, but that's exactly what a lot of people within Tel Aviv and also outside of Israel has been accusing Israel of, that there was diplomatic pressure on Iran that US was levying through negotiations when it came to nuclear talks. The E3 was also imposing diplomatic pressure on Iran through nuclear talks. And right now, there have been strikes against Iran, which is not diplomatic pressure. It's a military escalation. So let's call it what it is. And the 3 countries that you've mentioned, out of the 3, two countries. United States has categorically said that we had nothing to do with Israeli strikes. And the other country, Saudi Arabia, that you've mentioned, has come out with a very strongly worded statement calling Iran the brotherly country of ours. So what diplomatic pressure are you talking about when Israel is launching airstrikes against Iran?
First, the diplomatic pressure to say negotiation, it's a diplomatic pressure. It's not really relevant, going to negotiation. It's not a political pressure. And in the face of Iran is launching attacks, brutal attacks against Israel, directly and indirectly through Iran's proxies for almost 2 years. Almost 2 years, Iran is doing that brutally, killing 1,600 people all around from Israel. Look, if the situation of India, which is a very dear country to me, I love India very much, but try to imagine to yourself that Pakistan will create a massive terror acts, massive, against India. Do you think that India will sit down and will not do anything against Pakistan? I don't think so. And this is what we are facing now. We are facing now a country, a terror regime, the Iranian regime, which is attacking directly the Israeli population, the Israeli people, killing a lot of citizens, innocent citizens. Before that, the Biden administration let Iran do whatever it wants. And once again, when Trump came into power, and he's a great leader that influencing really the Middle East and what is happening in the Middle East.
That great leader is not supporting Israel against Iran when it comes to military escalation. That's been made very, very clear.
I think it's very easy to see or to look what Trump said. He said he didn't involve directly with this escalation for now, even though the interception of the drones that were made over Jordan and over Israel in the last few hours, this is the American system with American soldiers. So yes, the US didn't help Israel to attack the nuclear facilities, which impose huge risk on Israel.
Are you saying the US is playing a double game then? Because you're right in pointing out that
yes,
Israel is using American equipments to strike Iran, or in fact defend Israel when it comes to Iranian strikes. But at the same time, United States was supposed to sit down with Omani-mediated negotiators when it came to the nuclear talks just this Sunday. So is United States playing double game?
It's by the way, the US canceled a few days ago the negotiation that had to be on Sunday because it didn't go anywhere. The Iranian regime, this terror regime, was insisting of having nuclear facilities, nuclear power for military uses, and didn't want to go further on with.
They haven't mentioned military. They haven't mentioned military, sir. They have mentioned civilian facility. At least I'm quoting from their statement. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying what they have said.
Yeah. They already have a civilian nuclear power. It's a nice game of the Iranian to play the chess on the board and to fool the world. At the end of the day, a week ago, all the negotiation between the US and Iran was failing. It failed, and this is the next step that was made in order to go back to negotiation. I do believe that everything was made by mutual agreement, mutual understanding, and mutual cooperation between the US and Israel because of the huge risk that Iran is imposing on the free world. And I think that this is the situation. At the end of the day, the US didn't attack with Iran, but everything was very well coordinated, and the US is defending Israel from escalation and from the Iranian ammunition that already went towards Israel and will come probably also in the next hours.
So what you're saying is that Israel and the United States are together trying to gain some sort of leverage with these attacks, and at the same time put pressure on Iran to back down when it comes to negotiations?
I believe so. Israel, the US, and the free world do not want any kind of nuclear power to Iran, especially not military one. And according to intelligence reports that were published in the last few days, Iran already got to the place where it had at least military capabilities. So this attack came after the intelligence was noticing and presenting to the US and to Israel that Iran already had military nuclear capabilities. And I think that this is, and because of that and the stop of the negotiation, this is the timing that this attack was occurred.
All right, Dr. Pinko, Iran has already retaliated and it has said it will continue to retaliate as to whatever the next steps will be. What happens in the next few weeks? As you said, that it might not take a year, but a few weeks to get Iran at the negotiating table in a position that is suitable for Iran, Israel, and the United States. What happens if that does not happen?
Look, first, Iran will try to retaliate in a way, in an amount of missiles, drones, and other terror attacks that will suit and will say that the local honor will be enough. They will say, okay, we strike in a way that it will be enough for us to say that we retaliated. I'm not sure it will take a short time, because the heat and the damages that they suffered are huge. Especially look for the example, the main enrichment facilities in Natanz was totally destroyed. So I do believe that this ping pong, if I will call it, will last not for hours. It will take days, and then will come the time for the peace talks, or ceasefire, better to say, not the peace talks. And I think that this is what we will see in the next at least week or two.
Dr. Pinko, what do you have to say to those who are sitting in Tel Aviv right now and saying that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, is using this war in Hamas against Hezbollah, against Houthis, as well as against Iran, using these for his own political future? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, we have in the streets, some people are saying that. By the way, it was proven also by Google and Microsoft reports that most of the flames during doing that was flamed by Iran, by Iranian avatars and bots in the cyber domain to influence the Israeli public opinion. It was also done by the USAID, the radical left organization in the US that put and inject a lot of money to the left organizations in Israel.
Dr. Pinko, I'm sorry, I'll have to stop you there, because I'm not talking about the general public. However, I've been speaking to them as well, but I've spoken to ex-Mossad chief, ex-police chiefs, and I've also spoken to some of the internal Israeli intelligence chiefs who have personally told me that they believe, and I'm not going to take their name right now because I'm not in a position to do that.
I know their names. It's okay.
Yeah, I bet you do, but from a journalistic point of view, I'm not going to do that. But they have personally told me, in their point of view, who have worked closely with Benjamin Netanyahu and know how that man works, that they strongly believe that now at this point, Benjamin Netanyahu is using these wars for his own political gain. It's not the public opinion, sir. It's not just the public opinion.
Yeah, it's people that were in the system and got into senior positions, and they are holding political view about Netanyahu. I'm not a big fan of Netanyahu to put things on the table, but I don't believe this is true. I think this is being driven by generals that have some personal issues with Netanyahu. When I analyze the things from academical point of view, without any political, once again, I said my political view, the war is essential now. This operation is essential now in order to take down the Iranian nuclear capabilities, the military capabilities, which were done in the last few weeks. I think it's essential. I think the war in Gaza Strip is taking too long because of a bad doctrine that was done by the military, unfortunately. And we say always that the leader has the full responsibility. So I don't think that Netanyahu is the one to be blamed, but he's fully responsible for everything. At the end of the day, he's the prime minister. I think that the doctrine that the Israeli military did in the last year and so, well, it's not a good doctrine. In order to gain, and once again, I'm speaking from academical point of view, in order to gain military gains, you need to control the territory. You need to do a military maneuver. This was in the oldest military strategy books. And what the IDF did, he went into Gaza, stayed there a few hours or day, went out, come again, go out. You cannot deal with any war like that. You cannot win any war like that. It was driven by the army generals. The political level went after them without asking the difficult questions. Therefore, I think that the Israeli moves were terrible. But I don't think it comes from a political. I think it comes from a different point of view.
It seems like Israel has a lot of work to do on itself, because I speak to the political leaders, they blame the military establishment. I speak to the military people, and then they blame the political leaders for it. There's a lot of ping pong, to take your word on that. All right.
And at the end of the day, the political have their full responsibility. And maybe they're not the one to be blamed, but they have full responsibility. And that's the reason I'm saying that everybody did a bad job, the political and the military.
All right, Dr. Pinko, thank you so much for sitting down with Hindustan Times. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I have to say, you've been very candid with your views. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.